Hello everyone, and welcome to the second instalment of Google AdSense Go multi-screen series. My name is Scott, and coming to you from Sydney, Australia. I work in the AdSense team here. I also did the first Hangout, which hopefully many of you were there live or have since seen, which is now online. But second session today on going multi-screen, all about responsive design. With me here is Domenica.
Hello everyone, my name is Domenica. I work for the Google AdSense team here in Sydney, Australia. I will be your moderator today. Please make sure to publish all your questions in the event page.
Great guys, so we're going to get right into it. Any questions, obviously let us know on the page, and we trust you're going to get a lot out of this session, specifically on responsive design. Okay guys, hopefully you can hear us now. So we're going to get into the first of sessions. What is responsive design is the first of the headings that we're going to go through. And then we're going to go through why use responsive design, how to get started with responsive design, and responsive ads. So what is responsive design? From a technical perspective, responsive design is one design for multiple screens using pure HTML and CSS. From a user perspective, it is a single website that adapts to the device screen size on which it is being viewed. But how does it work? Basically, the content resizes itself to fit the screen being used based on predefined breakpoints or fluid grids. Content might be realigned vertically or horizontally based on different screen sizes. You can see here in this example of the Google Analytics website, the exact same page being shown on two different screens, one being desktop, the other a tablet, for example. But why use responsive web design? Internet users access your website through multi-screens. In our first multi-screen Hangout on Air, we have studied the multi-screen user and we shared some stats and research with you. Basically, users access your websites in many different devices at many different points in time. And also these different resolutions need to be taken into account, as well as the purpose of each visitor visiting your site on different occasions. From another side, we are seeing more and more devices in the market, be it desktops, smartphones, tablets. Responsive design is a really great way to respond to this fragmentation of your traffic and give your user the best user experience possible. But also from a business perspective, in your own case, running your own sites, it might also make sense to consider responsive design as an option to go multi-screen with your website. Some of the main benefits are, firstly, saves you both time and money, very important, and only means you have to maintain one website. Secondly, one URL means a better user experience. Users only have to remember the one URL at all times. Number three, Google Analytics, which is common to all devices, and we'll be able to read from all multi-screens where your traffic may be coming from. And number four, easier to maintain. Only CSS modification that is required to change is the appearance of resolution, for example, on each device. Just a quick quote there, just to really have the user in your frame of mind when thinking about how to design your site and maybe using responsive design. Keeping the user in mind when designing device-specific content is key to crafting a positive experience for your customers. Right, great. We've said what is responsive design and why you should use it. What's the best way to get started with responsive design? And that's breaking into how it works. And the best way to do that is to quickly explain CSS media queries. So let's take a look at what they are and why they are so important to responsive design. A media query allows us to target not only certain device classes, but to actually inspect the physical characteristics of the device, rendering your work, such as screen size. One common use case of this would be having different code depending on the width or resolution of a display. There are also other many parameters available. However, in this example, for screen display, as the page loads or as the page adapts, the browser can reassess these metrics and will interpret the relevant display code to show. Just a quick word of caution on CSS media queries. Caution should be observed when using these queries, as a proportion of browsers still do not support them. But for those that do, they can certainly be a useful method of tailoring content for different classes of browsing device. You can see for how each screen size, you can have a specific design and layout. All of these can be done through media queries in your code. And the example pixels given here are for desktop and large tablets, and smartphones, as well as just media-only screens for specific devices only. And it's really up to you if you decide to use responsive design. And for us, it would be all about how users are going to your site and what devices they're using them, as to which of these media queries you'd like to incorporate into your CSS as part of your responsive design strategy. So following that, we invite you to research more about media queries and to analyse your analytics data, and particularly on which screen sizes your users are visiting your website currently. And let's also think about potential visitors you might like to acquire by going multi-screen, which currently you may not be able to get just based on having certain resolutions that aren't suitable to many mobile devices. In the next part of the Hangout, we'd like to cover 9 best practices, 9 in total, that you should take into consideration when designing your responsive design website. You're going to notice that we're going to include some snippet in some slides. This is only to serve as a reference to those of you who are across coding. However, we will not be covering coding today. Now let's focus on the main idea and the benefits of practice. So the first one that you can see here is viewport meta tags. The idea here is to make your page readable without having to zoom in and re-render the page. Your page will load like in the screenshot to the right here versus the traditional example to the left. All this will guarantee a better user experience and thus more engagement with your content. Most mobile phone browsers will render a standard web page as if at 800 pixel width or higher. But as you may know, the text becomes too small to read without zooming in. Adding a viewport meta tag makes the site a lot more legible. Again, keep in mind that the purpose of adding the code snippet here is to help you have a reference. Our focus today is on sharing design best practices and on showing you the different possibilities that responsive design has to offer. The next one, liquid layout, is another great element for you to consider for your responsive site. You can clearly see in the screenshot that part of the content is not legible with this screen resolution. Therefore, your content should reflow to stay within the viewport. This can be done with avoiding to use fixed pixels for width and height. Instead, we recommend using max width and max height, as you can see there in the code snippet. Next one, use percentage for column widths. The same issue might happen at a column level. We need to ensure the column content is legible Again, seeing the examples, the desktop version, which isn't correctly isn't showing the correct resolution for the mobile, However, the second one clearly is. Here's an example of how you can do that. We see that the column width has been set to 32%. This will ensure that column width will always take around 1/3 or 32% of the available space. This way, you can preserve the look and feel of your website on any device. Next one up is no horizontal scroll bars. And it's another key best practice to ensure a great user experience on your responsive design site, and that's avoiding horizontal scroll bars. By using the previous three methods that we've just covered, you can ensure that all your content fits correctly and is legible within the width of the device. Make sure that all the elements fit within the screen. Please remember this also includes images and others. A simple fix that prevents this behavior is as follows in the code shown there. The next one up, preserve layout. This is key in order not to make content escape the container element or overwrite some other sections of your site, as seen in this example. The key is to test your site on as many devices as you can. There are many tools that can load your website and render it for a specific screen size. You can make sure your layout is preserved by adding an overflow property. This will ensure at all times that there is no escaped content. Next is linearize columns and floats. An alternative to resizing columns and font size is to stack the different elements differently, as you can see here in the screenshots. Basically, at a narrower width, the columns would stack vertically to ensure it all fits and ensures legibility. Using a media query, which we touched on before, is the way to build such a feature, as you can see in the code snippet. However, please bear in mind that currently around 30% of browsers don't support such functionality yet. Next up, use CSS multiple column layout. One more possibility for you is to merge columns at narrow width. Two columns will become one and thus ensure your content is readable. This is actually supported by most new browsers. Remember, you can always check your user stats and analytics to understand which browser is the most common among your visitors. Next one, increase navigation hit area. When it comes to narrow screens, navigation is a really key element. You need to ensure that your users can navigate your website easily and intuitively on any screen. In order to do that, a best practice is to linearize navigation bars and to increase padding on narrower screens, as you can see in this screenshot. Compact lists of links can be quite fiddly on a touch interface, as you may know from personal experience. It is recommended to make the minimum hit area of at least 44px square. Instead of putting margins between linked list items, consider adding padding to the anchor itself and linearize the list at low page width. Here's a very important one. Remove irrelevant content. Keep also in mind that many of your users will be viewing your site with limited screen size or maybe on an expensive data plan. Rather than force them to download extra details and details that may not be necessary, consider what content may be optional and remove it at narrower page widths. Increase image resolution. You need to ensure all your images load well and are legible on all screens. As a best practice, doubling the native resolution of graphical assets helps avoid fuzziness on mobile devices. And you can see the difference here on the Picasso example, but the kilobyte size has only increased by 1, but you can see what a difference it's made in terms of resolution. Many modern smartphones have a native resolution approaching double that of desktop displays. For crisper images, you can make the original twice the size, then scale it again with CSS. Desktop browsers will display the image at the reduced size, but a mobile device will render it at around its native pixel density. Remember again, any mobile users that may be on a data plan, so use this technique with some degree of caution. So we've just been through 9 key pointers in terms of best practice for responsive design, and we understand that this might be a lot of information to digest in one hangout. Remember, the web is full of resources on responsive design. The key really is to get started, and we hope that by showing you these best practices, we've showed you what the key differences are and the possibilities that you may like to take, and also what to focus on to get started building your multi-screen responsive site. In order to help you, here's a quick summary of the 3 key points that we'd like you to remember. Number 1, all web pages should render legibly on mobile devices. Number 2, write content once and then go and view it on any device to see how it looks. And number 3, never show a horizontal scroll bar regardless of device or screen size. So here's some more great examples, which I encourage you to go and look at these sites on different screens. If you have one in front of you, or a couple of screens, as most people now do. We have the Starbucks site, which has content specifically optimized for mobile. It provides a consistent touch-friendly experience across devices. And you'll see that it's very easy to navigate, regardless of the screen size. Then the second example is the Chromebook site. And this is actually a mobile-friendly checkout experience. But at the same time, there's a very simple option to navigate to find a store location to continue a purchase. You'll notice again it's a consistent touch-friendly experience across all devices, and just how easy it is to navigate at any screen size. So, now we're just going to finish on responsive ads. Responsive ads are basically a new type of ad that is currently in public beta. It will allow ads to adapt to different screen size the same way your responsive website would work. Before going further, let's take a look at the program policies with regards to responsive ads. Basically, you can make modifications to the AdSense code as long as those modifications do not artificially inflate ad performance or harm advertisers. And I'm just going to run through them. Hiding ad units at any time, implementing AdSense code in any way that covers content, using any means to force the display of more than 3 AdSense ad units on a page, manipulating the ad targeting using hidden keywords or iframes or any other method, distributing ads in emails or software, and finally, floating ads or ad units that slide to attract unwarranted attention. All of these, obviously, are against current AdSense policy. Implementing responsive ads is actually a very straightforward process. We recommend you follow the 3 steps you can see in the slide. We also have a Help Center article that you can easily find by searching for responsive ads in our AdSense Help Center. So there's 3 steps from here. To generate the ad code, go and create an ad unit in the usual way, making sure to select responsive ad unit beta from the ad size drop down in the process. Step 2, place the ad code on your site simply by copying and pasting the ad code into the HTML source code of your page. And step 3, set the size of the responsive ad unit. Responsive ad units have no predefined size, so here you need to specify the size dynamically through CSS. So with that brings to an end the second hangout on Go Multiscreen, all about responsive design. Again, I encourage you to post any questions that you may have after listening to this hangout on air, but also any other questions that you may get in terms of visiting the different sites that we recommend you go and have a look at, as well as the different steps you can take in implementing not only responsive web design on your site, but also responsive ads. So we're really hoping this hangout was useful for you. We thank you for your time, and particularly if you've joined us from the last hangout session, and reminding you again that the last and third instalment of the Go Multiscreen hangout on air for the Google AdSense team is on December 5. Again, you will have received an invitation for that. If not, we encourage you to attend.
Thank you very much, everyone, and please make sure to post your question on the event page. We will make sure that you will get an answer in the next 48 hours. And I thank you all for your patience, especially when we incur some technical issue. And I hope to see you on the 5th of December. Bye.
Thanks, guys.